But politically, the problem for former President Trump often can be losing. And now there's tension between the former president and the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, who is expected to enter the 2024 Republican primary field in the coming weeks. Donald Trump is ratcheting up his attacks against his likely opponent. In a series of posts on his social media site yesterday, Trump mocked DeSantis for endorsing two Republicans who lost state elections on Tuesday. Ron's magic is gone, he wrote, after the DeSantis-backed candidate finished third to the Trump-backed candidate in Kentucky's Republican primary for governor. Trump also bemoaned Republicans' loss in Jacksonville, Florida, the mayoral election on Tuesday, claiming, quote, if they would have asked me to endorse the candidate would have won
Mika,
easily.
You don't understand. The candidate that he endorsed in the Jacksonville race is kind of weird. It's not even from Jacksonville. Dr. Oz. I mean, he keeps endorsing Dr. Oz. And I mean, Michael Still, if you're going to win, like, you got to stop endorsing Dr. Oz. He's not even from Jacksonville. I guess he voted for Erdogan this past week. I'm not sure who he voted for over there. But come on, did he really think the good people of Jacksonville were going to vote for a TV doctor?
There's so much winning. I don't know how Republicans stand.
I'm tired of it, to be honest with you. They've got to be exhausted.
I just, I wish, if I knew that to keep my job at the RNC, all I had to do was lose. Dude, I could have signed up for that. Look, this is an interesting tension inside the GOP. I just don't know if the base gives a damn about it. It's a very weird signal out there that I think there's a longer play here, Joe. Love to get your thoughts on how I'm looking at this, because I don't think the base is as put out as the establishment obviously is. They want the power and the control. The base thinks they can get that power and control in other ways. And so these big races that everyone kind of focuses on and says, well, this is a turning point. This means that, this means this. A lot of the rank and file folks are like, okay, if you say so, because I look around and see where they're winning at school board elections, where they're winning, at local levels, where they're taking over infrastructure and control of electoral processes. There's a longer play here, a longer strategy that sets up a much more difficult future for the country, I think, in many respects. So there, these sort of losses in the horse races that are called by the mainstream media, for example, or Morning Joe,
right.
They look at that and they go, okay, you focus on that. We have another play. There's a longer term, and I think the press oftentimes fixates on Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump, and the base is like, oh, we would Trump. So y'all keep on talking about this going someplace else. Right. I just think you lose sight of the longer play. I really do.
I think what I obsess over is 5-6 states that are going to determine whether we have a fascist in the White House or somebody who supports American democracy. So I keep talking about the same 6-7 states. And you can say, well, why is he always? Because on election night, those states are going to matter. And in those states, they're going to be counties, a handful of counties that are going to determine who wins that race. The school board race in Omaha or in, well, Omaha actually matters for the one electoral vote that goes back and forth. But Idaho, I'm not really focused on that as much as, Jen, I hate to keep saying it, the suburbs of Atlanta, the suburbs of Philly, the suburbs of Detroit, the suburbs of Milwaukee, Maricopa County. And when I look at independent voters breaking away from either candidate, right now they're breaking away from Donald Trump. And when I look at actions that make them break away, that suddenly makes a big difference. When I look at Jackson, because I can tell you when I won in '94, it was a huge shock that we took over the House of Representatives. But if you had looked where Republicans had won in 93, you would have said, oh, well, I can connect those dots and see. You look at the huge Democratic wins in 18. You know, I remember reading stories in 17 about Democrats winning Delaware County, Pennsylvania, county commissioner races for the first time in 100 years. You go, well, that's something. Democrats winning in an incredible turnaround in the Virginia Assembly. Nobody believed it. It was a shock in 2017. And I kept seeing those women standing in line, you know, when it was raining. And I looked at that and said, oh, wow, that's significant. And I could name 5 other races in 17 that Trump Republicans lost. It does actually connect the dots. It does matter. I believe it does show you what's going to be happening the next year.
I looked at the turnout numbers for Colorado Springs and Jacksonville yesterday because you thought, you know, like, all right, these were unusual. Democrat won in Colorado Springs, Democrat won in Jacksonville. It wasn't expected to happen. And thought, you know, did these people, as their low turnout, did they win just by, you know, kind of eking out?
Right.
But no, it was like a big turnout that in both cities higher than the previous one. So it just shows you, like, people are paying attention. And I have to think that the 6-week abortion ban that just passed Florida and what that did to the Jacksonville mayor's race.
Right.
And, you know, maybe there's polls that show Ron DeSantis beating Joe Biden. I don't know, but not when people understand about that he's for a 6-week abortion ban.
Yeah. And
why do you think, Joe, he waded into that, Ron DeSantis? You know, Florida politics, it just seemed like he, for a while, had stayed away. And I thought, oh, he's going to be smart enough to avoid this hot potato.
Yeah.
And then he has to go there.
You know, I would say it's just people who lack the touch. They really do. You look at Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, why does Donald Trump act so crazy and act so radical? It's because he's not really a Republican. He's not really a conservative. So from the very beginning, he said, OK, I'm a Manhattan Democrat. I swear to God, this is it. I've known the guy. I'm a Manhattan Democrat. I'm very liberal on abortion. I'm very liberal on Donald Trump, very liberal on banning guns. He was very liberal on all of these issues. And so when he decided to run, he said, OK, well, what do those backwater redneck Republicans think? What do they want? And so because he doesn't have the touch, because he's not conservative, because he goes extreme. Ron DeSantis, he doesn't have the touch. So he's like, OK, well, I can't lose anybody. Instead of, you know, when I ran in 94, everybody was talking abortion, everybody's talking about guns. They asked me, said, what are your abortion? And then Big Bay said, I'm pro-life. The national debt continues to explode. The national debt, you know, education needs to be decentralized. And you know, because I was a conservative, and I am a conservative, I understand because I had the whole thing my whole life. And I just knew that, like, in my district, at least, people didn't want to obsess over that. Just throw it out there, talk about it, and then talk about issues that'll actually bring independents in. Talk about issues that'll bring Democrats in, that'll bring swing voters in. These guys don't have the touch. It's all just like a wrecking ball. Because they and that's what I don't, Lemire, I just don't. There has to be a Republican out there, swear to God, there has to be a Republican out there that cares about the things that I care about, that cares about the things that Americans care about. We got a $31 trillion national debt. We got Republicans talking about retreating and appeasing Vladimir Putin. We got Republicans talking about 6-week abortion bans. If all of this would have been for naught, and Republicans would have had the high ground on abortion. Progressives won't like this. This is the reality. If John Roberts had been able to convince Kavanaugh or Amy Coney Barrett, just come with me, sign on to the 15-week Mississippi abortion ban with exceptions. That's where the majority of Americans are right now. If they had done that, none of these conversations would have been had. Republicans wouldn't be running for the hills on the issue of abortion. But again, no touch. They take the extreme position that will lead to Democrats winning more elections and more pro-choice justices going on the Supreme Court. It's self-defeating.